Judica County is brought to you by Whitaker and Hamer, attorneys and counselors at law, your law firm for life.
Judica County Radio, hosted by Josh Whitaker and Joe Hamer, managing partners, Whitaker and Hamer law firm, practicing attorneys here in North Carolina, offices conveniently located for you, Raleigh, Garner, Clayton, Goldsboro, Fuquay, Varina, Gastonia, and in Morehead City. I'm Morgan Patrick, consumer advocate. We hit the legalese. We talk about different legal situations that can come up and how the lawyers would handle them. Also, if you've got a legal situation that you are facing and you've got, you need some answers to your questions, you can always call Whitaker and Hamer, 800-659-1186. That's 800-659-1186. Leave your contact information, briefly what the call's about, and an attorney will be in touch with you from Whitaker and Hamer. And you can also email your question to the show. We'll answer them on a future program. info@judicacounty.com. That's info@judicacounty.com. All right, it's mystery question time. Josh, take it away.
Well, I got two questions that kind of ask the same thing in different ways, and so I'm gonna start with those questions, Joseph.
I like that, man, because we can get practice answering it the first time, and then by the second time we answer it, we'll be really good at it.
So these are questions. So the first question is, how do I find a lawyer just to ask legal questions? All right, how do I find a lawyer just to ask legal questions? And I'm going to combine that question with, how do I get, this person said cheap. I'm going to leave that out. How do I get legal advice, but not representation? So those are two questions about how to get legal advice, how to find a lawyer just to ask legal questions. These are questions that are kind of about finding a lawyer and, what you can ask a lawyer in a consult, basically the consult process. And I always forget this. Before I went to law school, before I worked for attorneys, before I was an attorney, growing up, I remember it was always a big deal. Like my family needed to reach out if we, got a speeding ticket, or I remember when my parents got a will done. I remember when I got a couple of speeding tickets. I was mentioning speeding tickets already, but not everybody has to go to a lawyer very often. And so a lot of folks don't really know how it works, right? Joseph, that's what I would say.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know how it works, man. That's a fair statement. You started off with your question. It was like, how do I find a lawyer? I was like, you just open your browser and you type in wh.lawyer, which will take you to our website. Slam the book shut, man. That's the answer.
And that, even that's changed. When I first got started, I think my first year was 03. So my first year was 03. So I've been doing this since 2003, which doesn't seem like a long time, but it's been a minute. And, when I first got started, attorneys would outbid each other to get the back page of the phone book. That was the best way you could advertise as an attorney, is you spend tens of thousands of dollars to have your ad on the back of the phone book.
And it was a real slam dunk when you got it.
Yeah. And
when was the last time you saw a phone book?
It's been a minute.
It'd blow my kids' minds if I was like, this is a thing.
I feel like we got one delivered not too long ago, and the kids were confused.
Yeah, like what are these numbers? These names and numbers.
But that used to be a big deal, man, the phone book.
I remember the phone book, man. You think I've never looked anything up in the phone book? They look like an infant to you?
But you'd spend some money, and if you couldn't get, like, they'd price out the back page, they price out the spine. I remember we had a client who got the spine of the phone book, and that was, can't remember how much money that was, just an ungodly amount of money. But now it's all internet.
Yeah. How sad are those phone book maker guys, man?
They're still around.
They were living large at one point. I doubt they're living quite as large these days.
I still get solicited from time to time, and I'm like,
you're not going to fool me. You're not going to fool me, brother.
Like, we don't have any advertising budget set up, but no, it's
somebody's still using it though, man.
Oh yeah.
I wonder what the percentage is of people who like strictly rely on a phone book.
Man. Because you had to, anyway.
Less than 0.05. Like, I don't even know, man. It's got to be ridiculous.
So that, that used to be a big thing. That's how you would find an attorney, right? You'd crack open the phone book, and it had attorneys broken out by practice area. And then now you got the Google.
Yeah. And back to your question, it sounds like this person may be, you can go and sit down with an attorney. It doesn't mean you have to hire that person, right? Like, it doesn't mean that you're going to sign a formal engagement agreement with this person, and it's not like you sit down with me and we're doing whatever it is. Like, you've got no choice. You always have a choice. You can just come in and get advice. That happens. I mean, there's a large percentage of consultations that are nothing but that, because not every situation is going to require some form of tangible action. A lot of times it's just talking through a situation and just, again, getting some legal advice.
Yeah. The good thing about our firm is we kind of try to build our firm over time where we can handle multiple practice areas, right? So we have, I think our tagline has always been your law firm for life. And so what we try to do is any situation that you encounter, we're going to have an attorney who works in that area who can consult with you. And that's like Joe said, that's what happens. You find an attorney you want to consult with. Some things attorneys don't charge to sit down with you on, some things they do. And yeah, you've got a certain amount of time. Some attorneys do 30-minute consults, some do an hour, and you're just going to talk about your legal issue with that attorney. And that attorney can answer some questions for you. They can get you on the right track, but yeah, you're not obligated to that attorney. That attorney is not obligated to you. I met with plenty of people who probably needed legal help, but they, we could tell for whatever reason it wasn't going to be a good fit.
And a lot of times it's just as simple as you can have a legitimate issue that is a really tough situation that you're fully in the right, legally speaking, morally speaking, it's a slam dunk. And it just doesn't make monetary sense to pursue based on, what you're looking to recover versus what your actual damages are. And that's a conversation we have to have with people a lot. It's like, what is this worth to you? Like, yes, you're right. And we can get that. It's not an issue of whether you're going to win. It's a matter of whether it's going to be worth what it's going to cost you to get to that point. And it's really just it's a what's it worth to you type of thing,
Yeah. So people sit down with me a lot of times and kind of give me the what their issue is, and then as attorneys we try to pick the legal issues, because some people will come in and tell me a really long story that's been building up over time, and now we're in this position, and some of the backstory is not important to an attorney. Attorneys, we kind of carve it up,
and we're like, shut up, people, we don't want to hear this, right?
We carve it up and say, okay, well, this isn't important. This is important. This is what you could sue for. This is how you defend yourself. We kind of give you the plan, but the consult is kind of like an interview. We're interviewing the client. Client's kind of getting an interview with us. We're talking about your legal issues. And sometimes we solve the problem in the consult. Sometimes it's just an easy, yeah, you can't do that.
We're that good.
Yeah. So sometimes you get it all wrapped up. If you just have a couple of questions, you get what you need done. And sometimes you figure out like, hey, this is what you'd have to do. This is what you're looking at in attorney's fees. If you want to go forward, this is, what we sign an engagement agreement, and then you go from there. But, you're not obligated to an attorney just for a consult.
Yeah. Just because you sit down doesn't mean you're locked in. Now that is to say, there is something to be said about sitting down with an attorney. Like, you sit down and you consult with an attorney, there are implications of that in terms of, really that attorney's ability to represent another party related to that matter. Like, there's conflict rules that could potentially conflict that attorney out in that situation. So it's not like it has no impact, but it doesn't have any impact on your ability to say, hey, I don't like this lawyer. I'm going to either do nothing, or I'm going to go and talk to somebody else about this as well. Like, so you're certainly welcome to get a second opinion if need be.
I was going to say, so it's an interview process where it's a kind of a get to know you. You're going to get to know the situation. They're going to get to know you.
Yeah. And, we talk about the fact that we do a lot of times get this long, engaging backstory. And I joke about, but I joke about not wanting to hear that. That's not necessarily the case, because, we're attorneys, right? But there's also that attorney and counselor at law piece. And it's not like we're like certified counselors. Of course, that's not the case, but there's something to be said about talking through these situations with people. And so a lot of times that's part of the benefit of coming to somebody is being able to kind of get it all out there. And I like to say, we try to also offer a counseling in quotes piece of things in terms of like just trying to hear people, let people be heard. And again, just advise on those situations from a full perspective, right? Like from the legal aspect, but just really all across the board as well.
Yeah. If you, and there's different kinds of consults, right? So if you've decided, it's finally time for you to do your estate plan. You'd meet with an attorney who handles, estate planning, and they're going to ask. A lot of times, I know at least here at our firm, we'll get you to fill out some information ahead of time. You're still not obligated to anything. We just want to be able to actually use your consult time to consult with you instead of asking for information. So estate planning consults kind of go one way. Like if you've just been in a car accident and we're helping you with a personal injury, those consults, we're obviously asking a lot of questions about the accident, what you're doing before, what happened after. I do a lot of business law consults where we're talking about a prospective business venture and how to best protect our client from liability, set everything up. We're not CPAs, but we still look at everything. What's the most advantageous legally, taxes, things like that, things to keep in mind. So every type of consult, a speeding ticket consult isn't that, we're going to ask you questions about your driving record. And so you got to be willing to give your attorney some information too, so they can help you.
I love those speeding ticket consults, man.
They go fast.
I like to pull up the driving simulator and make people do a couple laps. And no, man, there's rarely going to be a speeding ticket consult. You have to have a pretty serious speeding ticket to need a speeding ticket consult, man.
Or some various other charges that go with it. Sometimes just speeding tickets, just the tip of the iceberg for.
Yeah, just a speeding ticket, man. Let me tell you that you're going to get so inundated with ad letters from folks that you're going to just be drowning in those before you can get to anybody's office to sit down about it. So good old speeding tickets, man.
Judica County Radio, your host, Josh Whitaker and Joe Hamer, managing partners, Whitaker and Hamer Law Firm. Offices located Raleigh, Garner, Clayton, Goldsboro, Fuquay, Farina, Gastonia, and Morehead City. They're practicing attorneys here in North Carolina. We will continue with our mystery question show. If you've got a legal situation you're facing, you need some answers to your own questions, you can always call Whitaker and Hamer, 800-659-1186. That's 800-659-1186. Leave your contact information, briefly what the call is about, and an attorney with Whitaker and Hamer will be in touch. And you can always email your questions right here to the show, info@judicacounty.com. That's info@judicacounty.com. We're back right after this.